Building Emotional Intelligence Skills Program. Today we'll get started with emotional intelligence skills. Why or what are those emotional intelligence skills? The word emotional intelligence, or also referred as emotional quotient. In the beginning, you all may be familiar with intelligence quotient, IQ. And people used to consider IQ is everything. If someone's IQ is very good, he'll be definitely successful in all areas of life. But again, there were some cases where someone who was not at all educated, or what we say in modern aspects, measuring the intelligence quotient, was rather very successful and stood as a pioneer in his area. Like, for example, he was a very successful businessman. So, this brought in the need for doing a research. Is there anything more than IQ? And the first person to bring in the concept of emotional intelligence was Daniel Goleman. We should be thankful to his research, who happens to be a journalist by profession, and later on he moved on to work with psychology, and he studied emotional intelligence in detail. Now, whatever the research he has done, whatever his findings he has done, has paved way to emotional intelligence. And he has proved to the world that beyond IQ, it is the emotional intelligence that is more important to be successful in personal as well as professional life. If we go a little further, in a business or in a corporate environment, when you are dealing with people, actually we are dealing with their emotions. And the company which takes care of its employees will definitely succeed. And he has outlined very clearly the importance of emotional intelligence. Let us go a little further, and let us first understand what emotions are. So when we say an emotion, emotion is a feeling or reaction of us to a specific situation. Like anger is a reaction, happiness is a reaction, sadness is a reaction. So the way we react to different situations is an emotion. Now, let us get along with why or what exactly happens in a situation where a person is angry. So he loses his control of his emotions. He may act violently. Now, here to understand this, Daniel Goleman has termed a word called amygdala hijacking. He was the first one to use this terms, amygdala hijacking. Now, what this amygdala is and hijacking, so is something like taking control of. Now, let us first understand what this amygdala is. Amygdala is almost an almond shaped small organ inside our brain. Now, what happens is whenever there is a threat situation, whenever a person feels his life is a threat, Daniel Goleman said that this amygdala takes control of the things, and it bypasses the neocortex, and sends direct instructions to the body to react so that the life is saved. One simple example is, like, we all know we use a candle. Now, if you can recollect, there would have been a situation where you were not conscious and there was a risk that your hand would burn. But suddenly our body reacts in such a way without intervention of our brain that we pull back the hand. Now, how is it happening? It is happening because of amygdala. Now, whenever there is a threat to our life, whenever there is a threat to us, amygdala immediately takes control of the situation and it directly sends instructions to the body to fight back. So, this sometimes may create a problem because a person may not be thinking about possible consequences that he has to face in the coming years. To better understand what amygdala is or how is it reacts, how does it react, I would like to share a small story which had really happened in the year 1963. It was a day when Martin Luther King Jr. has given his famous speech, "We shall overcome." And on the same day, there was a seasoned burglar or a thief who had more than 100 cases on his name, and he was known for his burglary acts. It was on the same day that he was also released from the prison, and as he was very old, he had made up his mind that he would do one more last burglary or last theft, then he would say no to his profession. After that, he would never do any threat or any burglary in his whole life. So, with this conviction, he decided to do his last burglary. And at this time, he was very careful enough to choose an apartment where only two ladies used to live. His main intention was he did not want to have any out of control situations. He wanted to have this burglary in a very safe way because he wanted to stop doing burglary after this. Though he was very careful, he planned and he went into the apartment. And when he went inside the apartment, there was only one lady. Somehow, showing a knife to the lady, he managed to tie her up in a chair and picked up all the valuable, precious things in the apartment. And when he was about to step out, the other lady staying in the same apartment had stepped in. And it is this lady who started making shouting, and things went out of his hands. But somehow, here also, he managed to tie her up in a chair. But when he was about to leave the apartment, the lady shouted that she had recognized him. She had made a note of all his physical features and he cannot escape from the punishment. This, on a later date, when the jury asked, said the burglar or a person who has come with an intention of doing no harm but just to pick up the valuable things has lost control over his mind. He took up a bottle, and with that bottle, he broke the bottle on their heads and caused injury to them. But unfortunately, he did not stop with this act. He had taken up a knife and stabbed them in such a bad way that both of them were killed, and there was a pool of blood all over the apartment. And later on, he was caught by the police and he was presented before the jury. And the jury asked, "You are a seasoned burglar. Why did you do this? You had already tied them and they were unconscious. There was a very much possible thing that you would have easily escaped from the situation. What was the need to brutally kill those two ladies?" For this, the burglar had no answer. Only thing he said is somehow he couldn't understand at that point what went wrong. When he had gained conscious, then he realized what a big mistake he has done in his life. Because if he had decided that that will be his last burglary, and if police would caught him, they would have given him a punishment of for say few months or years, and after that he would be set free. But this has become a murder case. The two ladies were killed, and definitely he has to be imprisoned for many decades. Now, what really had happened here is when the lady threatened the burglar, the amygdala in his brain had taken over his conscious brain. The amygdala did not give the burglar time to think and act. Amygdala had taken control of his body and thought, and it gave one instruction to his body, and his breathing became heavy. Blood started pumping more in his muscles, and without a second thought of the consequences, he took up the knife and stabbed them until they died. So, whenever there is an emotional outburst, we need to control, we don't need to act. We need to see that our control is taken back from our brain. Then, whatever decision you take from your brain will definitely do you a good. Now, the point here is in a threatful situation, amygdala takes control from us. But how will I understand when brain will regain its position and when I'll be in a position to take a decision? Now, the good thing here is for the brain, conscious brain to regain the situation, it takes at least 10 seconds. So, if you're calm in this 10 seconds without acting, without taking any desperate or without taking any extreme step, then almost you are saved. You would have seen in many old movies someone who is very aggressive, someone who is very arrogant. A wise man gives such a person a solution. And the solution that he says is whenever you are aggressive, whenever you are arrogant, don't immediately react to that situation. You count 10 or you start from 10 and go down till 1. The moment you reach 1, then you are free to take decision. Whatever is a decision you take will be correct. Now, what is the logic behind this? Now it is very clear to us. Like, for instance, if someone is before a person with a pistol to shoot, so what will be the first reaction? When amygdala hijack happens within that person, the first thing he sees a threat. And when he sees a threat, the second thing that he will do is before the person shoots him, he will try to shoot back. Now, this is the work done by amygdala hijacking. Now, what we have to do here, you have to calm down. Your breathing becomes fast. You have to slow down your breathing, relax a little bit. There, don't give a chance to medulla hijacking. Take your own time, relax a little bit. Then once the control is shift back to the brain from the amygdala, then whatever decision you take will be correct. Now here, if the person, let us say, if there is a threat, the other person standing before us with a pistol, and if you act with a medulla hijacking, so what you will do? Probably you will jump on the other person without any weapon in your hand, and there's a medulla hijacking happening in the other person also. Probably there may be threat. Now, if you handle those 10 seconds, then there is a way out. You can not only save yourself, you can save the other person also. So, in today's session, we have looked at what amygdala hijacking is. Okay, how to avoid it. Okay, so this is not only common in human beings, it is a major thing with which the animals survive. Now, you take a wild animal, the moment a wild animal traces a small animal, so what will it do? Will it request, okay, wait, I'm going to kill you? No. It will wait for the right opportunity and it will immediately pounce on the animal and tear it into pieces. So, this is one of the defense mechanisms. This happens in our body without our consciousness. But the problem here is sometimes it may land you in trouble. So let us, like, it may not be always in a frightful situation. It may be sudden burst of emotions also. Like for example, if someone is working in a company, something went wrong and it was employee's fault, because of which the employer is not happy because he would have met some loss, and we all know no one would like to face losses. So, in that spur of second, the employer may shout at the employee. His intentions may not be to harm the employee, but he would try to use a little bit aggressive instructions which would have offended the employee. Now, if the employee understands that it was his mistake, and if he takes empathy or if he brings empathy in picture and doesn't react to the situation, he doesn't react, he simply says it was his mistake and maintains silence, then after some time, don't you think the employer will realize that though there was a loss, he was a little bit aggressive towards his employee? So this is one scenario where things may settle in the right situation. In the other scenario, if the employee outbursts and shouts back at his employer, then what happens? Obviously, it will be his last day of employment. Or if he doesn't lose his employment, at least relationships will be spoiled. So, managing our emotions is very essential. Hope today's session was good. Tomorrow we'll look at how to deal, or we'll discuss about self-awareness, because unless and until you're not aware of yourself, you'll not be aware of your emotions. And we'll do uh, all the possible things to become aware of ourselves. So that's for today. Hope to see you in the next session tomorrow. Take care. Stay home, stay indoors. Have a good day. Bye.